I do think I work differently than a traditional interior designer. My background is actually art history, and so I feel like I almost take a more artistic approach. I even was actually talking to a gallerist the other day, and she said my work was extremely sculptural. And I think that's true. It's like you almost plot it like a livable art installation, which I think is kind of a neat way to do it. I'm Margaret Naeve Parker, an interior designer, and this is my home in Houston, Texas. I live here with my husband and my 2 kids. This is a 1930s Cape Cod house that my husband and I renovated about 10 years ago, actually. It was quite the venture. My husband and I, we fell in love with the structure and the bones of the home, loved the neighborhood, and so we saw an opportunity just with what it already had. So we embarked on an 18-month renovation where it included everything from taking the brick off the entire home to doubling the square footage by adding a 2nd floor. The biggest lesson I learned from remodeling this house is that remodels actually can cost significantly more than new construction. I remember our builder asked Brad and I if we wanted new plumbing, so of course we think yes, we want new plumbing. We came home from being out of town from a wedding and the house was completely gutted. You should have seen the shock on his face. I would describe my design aesthetic as organic, warm, layered with a level of restraint. I knew I wanted this softer palette with these beautiful white oak floors. We found this amazing stone for the kitchen, so we kind of drew off the materials first and then went on and layered in the furniture and our art collection as well. From the hardware to the plumbing, to the stone, to the wood, to the rugs, everything. It all needs to speak the same language and talk to each other. Everything from that tiny little candlestick to the fireplace, it's all talking together. And I think it's such a crazy relationship all these things can have, and it's fun exploring that and adding and adding and adding, but then taking back. You know, that's the fun part. My home is really contemporary, but I think even a maximalist could appreciate the play on scale, the different varieties of textures and materials, and we do have color. I think the biggest design rule I follow is scale. Scale can transform a space when it carries your eye to a spot where you expect to see something rather large, possibly. It doesn't have to be super cookie cutter. I think it's interesting to have either a very large sofa with a tiny painting maybe, or play on these pieces together. The layers are really what make something warm. I don't think having color everywhere is gonna solve that problem. I think what does give that warmth is this 19th century piece mixed with this contemporary piece. It's just, that's what brings that feeling. Not just tons of color, it's the mix. I think sometimes contemporary design can get a bad rap and that people can claim it as soulless and not warm. Again, it's just how you approach the project. If you're adding in layers and your fabrics and your rugs and your textiles, that's when you can create the warmth. Things can be clean lined, but still have a soul. Then you throw in the antique piece or the weird found object, and it tells a story then. In addition to my design firm, I also own a store in Houston, Naeve, which is a mix of antiques and 20th century furniture. The perks of having Naeve are that I guess I made a shopping habit a career. My favorite sourcing is definitely the south of France and going to the antique fairs. The feeling you get when you find that piece, it's so exhilarating. It's like you're a kid in a candy shop. It's really interesting to think about where the pieces came from and what home they were with and what were their surroundings like. I think that if our pieces could talk, they'd find it hilarious that a Gioponte chair is sitting next to like 18th century coffee table with a baby in a rocker watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. Our sunroom is our favorite room. And that was totally last minute. That was actually an open porch. We're sitting there one day in the Texas heat, and I have this friend, Ruth Gay, who owns Chateau Domingue, who makes these incredible iron doors and windows. We just came up with the idea of installing those amazing iron doors and windows, and then it just totally became this amazing sunroom. Literally, we have coffee and cocktails in there. It's perfect. One of the first purchases that Brad and I made for this house is this sectional around the corner. We've had it 10 years. It doesn't even look older than a year. You know, it really is worth it to invest in nice pieces. I'm constantly talking to clients about, you know, where do we put the money? Where do we save the money? And I think we've found a good balance in this home, just like the sofa. You want to have things that last. It doesn't mean you have to spend $1 million on them though. There's ways to get creative about where to put your money. I think every house needs a story. It just depends on the client and the person and what they're after. Are they a bachelor in Colorado, or are they a family of 4? It's just, everyone's gonna tell their own personal story, and I love helping with that. This house would tell the story of a very happy family who have grown over 10 years, from dating to engaged to married to 2 children coming home here. I want to cry thinking of it. It's our life, and it's such a happy home, and it would be something I don't know if I could ever let go, honestly. The only thing that would make us maybe leave is the temptation of another project. So stay tuned, we'll see.